They called it your funeral. The universe, however, recognized it as your metamorphosis, your grand unveiling. And now observe them, rendered mute, trembling in disbelief, their eyes fixated on the very person they had prematurely consigned to the earth, not only breathing, but radiating an otherworldly luminescence. Music. Didn't their laughter echo when they believed your chapter had closed? Didn't celebrations erupt, marking what they were so sure was your obliteration? Didn't they meticulously strategize, weaving intricate plots, whispering curses, indulging in venomous gossip, launching slanderous attacks, and engaging in spiritual warfare against you? All while flashing insincere smiles in public and exchanging celebratory emojis in group chats, as if your downfall was a foregone conclusion. They were so confident, so assured. This time, they gloated, there will be no resurrection. They whispered, she's shattered beyond repair. Music, he's too weary to rise. They lack the resilience to emerge from this abyss. But the narrative took an unforeseen turn, one absent from their meticulously crafted script. Before we delve deeper, my chosen one, I implore you to dedicate a moment to acknowledging this message with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already embarked on this journey, and inscribe 777 in the comments. A digital beacon signaling to the universe that you remain unyielding. Music. This simple act transmits a powerful signal to YouTube, affirming the divine essence of this message and propelling it towards other kindred spirits, other chosen ones who require this potent reminder of their inherent strength and their sacred purpose. This isn't mere entertainment. It's a divine affirmation, a cosmic validation. Now let's immerse ourselves in the heart of the matter. They were convinced you couldn't weather the storm. They genuinely believed that, this time, their machinations would bear fruit. That carefully crafted hex, that insidious smear campaign, that elaborately staged betrayal, that humiliating public spectacle, that desperate, last-ditch attempt to paint you as unstable, broken, delusional. Clear's throat. They fancied themselves surgeons of your fate, meticulously planning your demise as if it were a masterpiece. Meticulous. Music, impeccably timed, emotionally engineered to dismantle you from the inside out. But what remained concealed from their limited perception was that you were forged in the crucible of fire, birthed amidst the throes of chaos, nurtured in the battlefields of life, spiritually weaponized, and inherently equipped to withstand trials that would have decimated ordinary souls. You were not meant to merely survive. You were destined to conquer. And conquer you did, effortlessly, music silently, and without ever compromising your inherent frequency. Some resorted to the dark arts, spellwork, witchcraft, intention rituals, hoping to bend reality to their will. Others wielded weapons far more sinister. Their words. Words became poison darts. Gossip dripped with venom, projections disguised as benevolent concerns. They banked on your silence, interpreting it as capitulation. They perceived you as just another fragile soul, devoid of spiritual standing, bereft of divine protection, forsaken by ancestral support. They relegated you to the role of a mere pawn. But now, that very silence they once mocked has become their suffocating shroud. Because within that profound stillness, the universe stirred, orchestrating a symphony of divine intervention. And it didn't merely reverse their curses. It amplified your radiance exponentially. Your very existence became a trigger, exposing their own spiritual deficiencies. They anticipated witnessing a tragedy unfold in your life's narrative, but instead, they became unwilling spectators to your awe-inspiring ascension. You didn't music crumble. You ascended. You didn't engage in their dirty tactics. You walked away with your integrity intact. And now, they find themselves in a state of spiritual shock, gazing upon your formidable strength as if it were a spectral apparition, scrutinizing their own reflections and discovering cracks in their carefully constructed facades. Because the truth they so desperately tried to bury, music, is now erupting, consuming everything they once held sacred. You were never ordinary. You were never delicate. You were never meant to be trifled with. They underestimated your indomitable power because they fundamentally misunderstood your sacred process. They mistook your moments of heartbreak for debilitating weakness, music your periods of solitude for abject defeat, your tranquil composure for utter surrender. But you were not broken. You were undergoing a profound transformation, rebuilt, refined, music reforged in the cosmic fire. While they were consumed with plotting curses and devising schemes, you were diligently cultivating clarity and inner peace. While they reveled in their malicious laughter, you were diligently evolving, transcending limitations, and expanding your consciousness. And now, the very energy they projected toward you, music, has been transmuted into rocket fuel, propelling you to unprecedented heights. What they fail to comprehend is that you were assigned to them as a test, a trial they were destined to fail. You weren't the weakling they perceived you to be. You were the warning, the ultimate trial, the sacred detour the universe presents to those teetering on the precipice of self-destruction. And they failed spectacularly. They dared to target someone divinely protected. And now, their own malevolent actions are dragging them down, piece by agonizing piece. Not because you willed it, not because you retaliated, but because the universe operates under immutable laws. And when one transgresses against a chosen one, those cosmic laws are swiftly and irrevocably invoked. You didn't even expend energy trying to vanquish them. You simply persevered, and that very act of survival was sufficient to unmask the truth, revealing the depths of your power that they could never have fathomed. And now they must grapple with that crushing realization. Each time they encounter your face, hear your name whispered on the wind, or feel the resonance of your energy, it serves as a stark reminder that they were never destined to be the one. They weren't even a close second. They were merely shadows attempting to extinguish a light that was never theirs to touch. And so, they remain, trapped in the quagmire of their own creation, grappling with the sting of failure, the weight of shame, and the return of every venomous projectile they launched into the spiritual realm. Music, they witness your ascendance and experience a searing pain they cannot articulate, because the very one they tried to bury now walks in harmony with the cosmic winds. You didn't just weather the storm, you became the storm itself. And now, their shock is your spotlight, their failure is your fuel, their curses are your confirmation. Because, my chosen one, you were never meant to survive that onslaught. But you did, and you triumphed without even exerting conscious effort. And listen closely, my chosen one, do not even blink, because what you have just absorbed was music, merely the overture. The profound truth, the incisive breakdown, the comprehensive spiritual reckoning that is unfolding behind the veil of reality is poised to manifest, step by measured step. Music. So, if you stand ready to calmly, powerfully navigate the wreckage you left in your wake, embodying the unyielding force of nature that you are, inscribe the sacred number 777 in music, the comments section. And if this message has already ignited your spirit, music, honor the mission with a super thanks, as every contribution aids in disseminating this vital message to more warriors like yourself. And now, let's delve into the depths, layer by intricate layer. If you are truly among the chosen, your spirit will not allow you to disengage. Now let's embark. Number 1, you were never meant to make it, but you did. They orchestrated your downfall as if it were a meticulously crafted death sentence, conveniently forgetting that the divine architect had already woven your triumphant survival into the very fabric of the cosmos. They didn't simply underestimate you. They placed exorbitant bets against your potential, wagering that you would forever remain buried in the abyss they had so diligently excavated. And not just once, but repeatedly, they doubled down on your perceived failings, convinced that you would never rise from the pit they had attempted to seal you within. Yet, here you stand, still breathing, still radiating a captivating glow. And this radiant resilience isn't merely an inconvenience to them. It's a source of profound anguish, chipping away at their carefully constructed sense of superiority. Because this wasn't just an accidental miscalculation. It wasn't simply another failed attempt to undermine your spirit. This was meant to be the defining moment, the precise blow that would finally shatter your resolve. That final assault, that calculated betrayal, that spiritually charged attack, that calculated public humiliation, that dark spell they unleashed, that manipulative tactic they brandished like a sharpened blade. That was the blow they believed would finally extinguish your light. But they overlooked one crucial detail. You were forged in the fires of adversity, nurtured in the heart of chaos, molded in the silence of introspection, tempered by the shadows of doubt, and fortified by the unwavering pressure of life's trials. They failed to recognize that what they hurled at you was merely a gentle breeze compared to the tempests you had already weathered. You had survived nights where your spirit bled, where your body trembled uncontrollably, where your prayers seemed to dissipate into the vast emptiness. You had survived abandonment, betrayal, sabotage, and you had navigated these treacherous currents entirely alone. So, what led them to believe that this latest assault would yield a different outcome? You were never intended to succeed, and that is precisely why you defied their expectations. Because chosen ones are never crowned in the comfort of complacency. We are forged in the crucible of conflict, amidst the fires of suffering, and within the heart of tumultuous storms. And each time life attempted to drown you in its turbulent currents, it only served to reveal the profound depth of your roots, the unwavering strength of your spirit, and the unshakable connection you maintain with the divine. They perceive themselves as the formidable villains in your unfolding story, but in reality, they were merely providing essential training, adding weights to your wings, and applying the pressure required to crack open your anointing. Ask yourself, how many individuals believed they had already witnessed your demise? And how many of them have now vanished from your life, fading into obscurity like spectral apparitions, unable to confront the resplendent version of you that has emerged from the ashes of their betrayal? They witnessed your suffering and labeled it as weakness, evidence of your inherent flaws. Music, but suffering, in its paradoxical wisdom, transformed you into something sacred, something beyond their comprehension. You have become living proof that no weapon forged against you shall prosper, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. And now, they are beginning to internalize this truth, even if they are unable to utter it aloud. Their silence speaks volumes, a deafening chorus of regret and resignation. Let's be unequivocally clear. They never possessed the capacity to respect what they could not comprehend. You defied the conventional molds of power they had grown accustomed to, shattering their limited paradigms and challenging their narrow perspectives. You weren't music ostentatious, arrogant, manipulative, or driven by a desperate need for external validation. You were quiet, introspective, profound, music, and resolutely intentional in your actions. They mistook your inherent peace for a sign of powerlessness, failing to recognize the immense strength required to restrain yourself, to refrain from retaliating, to resist the urge to expose their treachery when you possessed the opportunity to do so. And now, that very restraint has become your greatest reward, a testament to your inner fortitude and spiritual mastery. Have you ever observed the common thread that weaves through the lives of legends, icons, and world shakers? Those individuals who defied expectations and left an indelible mark on the world? Many were initially dismissed, overlooked, and outright rejected. Oprah Winfrey was famously fired from her early television role, deemed unfit for the medium. Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest basketball player of all time, was cut from his high school team, told he lacked the necessary talent. Even Beyoncé, the undisputed queen of modern music, faced numerous rejections and setbacks in her formative years. And yet, each and every one of them has become an unforgettable force, a beacon of inspiration for generations to come. Not music in spite of rejection, but because of it. Rejection serves as the gatekeeper to divine elevation, filtering out the weak, those who lack the resilience and determination to persevere. It hardens the worthy, forging them in the fires of adversity and preparing them for the challenges that lie ahead. And you, my chosen one, you have passed every test with flying colors, even without consciously realizing you were being evaluated. So now, they stand bewildered, consumed by paranoia, and utterly disoriented, because you haven't simply survived. You have thrived. And you haven't done so with fanfare, seeking validation from external sources. You have quietly, diligently continued to build, to heal, to evolve in the solitude of your own sacred space. And now, your silence is deafening. a resounding testament to your inner strength and unwavering resolve. They are witnessing your radiant glow up like a slow-motion nightmare, their carefully constructed illusions crumbling before their very eyes. You weren't supposed to recover from that devastating blow. They had placed all their chips on your ultimate collapse, celebrating your downfall with unbridled glee. And now, the very sight of you serves as a spiritual slap across their faces, a stark reminder of their misjudgment and the futility of their efforts. Do you yearn to understand why you remain standing, unyielding and unbowed? Because your sacred assignment is far from complete. That tempestuous storm didn't arrive to obliterate you. It came to expose you to yourself, revealing the depths of your strength, the boundless capacity of your being, the undeniable power that resides within, and the divine rank you have rightfully earned. That calculated betrayal didn't break you. It unveiled the potential that had been dormant within you all along, waiting for the precise moment to ignite. And now that you have finally recognized the magnificence of your true self, music, there is no turning back. Some of you may be pondering the question, why would they inflict such pain upon me? Why would they invest so much energy into trying to dismantle my spirit? The answer, while painful, is rooted in their own inner turmoil. You made their demons deeply uncomfortable. You triggered their insecurities simply by existing, by embodying qualities they desperately lacked. You walked into the room and unconsciously reminded them of everything they had failed to cultivate within themselves: courage, integrity, authenticity, and divine favor. They didn't despise you for your actions. They resented you for the very essence of your being. You are a mirror, reflecting back at them the aspects of themselves they have desperately tried to conceal. And most individuals lack the courage to confront their own reflections, to acknowledge the shadows that lurk within. But now, they are being forced to observe you from a safe, music distance, silently, regretfully, their own deficiencies magnified by your resplendent light. And while you are evolving, breaking free from generational cycles, healing ancestral wounds, and stepping into the fullness of your divine calling, they remain trapped in the very snares they had so meticulously crafted for you. The grave they dug for you has become their own suffocating prison. The weapon they forged has backfired, its energy ricocheting back upon them with devastating force. This isn't mere drama. This is divine justice in its purest form. This is the inevitable consequence that unfolds when individuals forget that the chosen are not protected by mere chance. We are protected on purpose, shielded by a divine force that recognizes our inherent worth and our sacred mission. Music. So, take this moment in My Chosen One. Breathe in the exquisite taste of your hard-earned survival. Embrace your inherent resilience, the unwavering strength that has carried you through the darkest of nights. Because you weren't supposed to make it, but you did. You always do. And the next time someone dares to wager against your potential, to underestimate your unwavering spirit, simply offer them this profound truth. I don't merely survive battles. I transcend them. I don't simply endure trials. I become legendary because of them. Number 2. You triggered their delusion with your survival. Your triumphant survival didn't simply bruise their pride. It shattered the entire fantasy they had constructed around your anticipated failure, sending their carefully fabricated delusions crashing to the ground. They had built an entire identity upon the premise of your defeat, a meticulously crafted narrative, a deeply ingrained delusion where they were the strong one, the wise one, the powerful one. And you, in their warped perception, were relegated to the role of the broken one, the lesser one, the insignificant pawn to be manipulated and discarded at will. They cast themselves as gods in their own minds, casting you as the peasant, the easy target, the one they could crush effortlessly beneath their heel. And for a while, they genuinely believed their own fabrication. They were so deeply entrenched in their self-created illusion that they failed to recognize its inherent fragility, its susceptibility to being shattered by the mere act of your survival. You didn't even need to lift a finger in retaliation. You didn't engage in their petty squabbles. You didn't stoop to their level. You simply continued to live, to heal, to rise above their attempts to diminish your spirit. And your very existence became the mirror they were never prepared to gaze into, reflecting back at them the ugliness they had desperately tried to conceal. Because your radiant glow, your awe-inspiring comeback, your profound silence. It all served to expose the truth they had been hiding from themselves, that they were never truly powerful. Music, that their vaunted control was nothing more than a fragile illusion, a house of cards built upon lies and manipulation, that all the smoke and mirrors, all the calculated theatrics they employed to manipulate others, had no effect on you, no power to sway your spirit. You shattered their precious delusion, and that is why they are spiraling out of control, their carefully constructed world crumbling around them. See, your survival was an unscripted anomaly, a deviation from the narrative they had so meticulously planned. You were supposed to fold under pressure. You were supposed to react with predictable outrage. You were supposed to cry, music, wallow in despair, fall into the depths of despair, and remain broken beyond repair. They orchestrated moments of calculated drama, hoping to witness you begging for their validation, seeking their approval. They longed to see you needing them, chasing after them, collapsing beneath the weight of their rejection, their dark magic, their ego-driven games. But instead, music, you flourished, like a rare and exquisite flower blooming in the desert. You didn't simply move on with your life. You radiated an unprecedented glow, emanating a light that challenged their darkness. You walked into your next season with unparalleled peace, with unwavering clarity, and with a spiritual authority that dwarfed their petty manipulations. And they cannot bear to witness your ascendance. You exposed their lies, their carefully constructed facade of power. Now, they sit in stunned silence, desperately trying to decipher how someone they had dismissed as weak, emotional, and unstable could possibly possess the divine rank, the authentic power, music, the unyielding strength that they could never break. And worse, they must confront the agonizing truth that they needed you more than you ever needed them, a realization that shatters their carefully constructed ego. Do you grasp the profound devastation that this inflicts upon someone who has constructed their entire identity upon a foundation of perceived superiority? You were their anchor, providing stability and grounding, but they arrogantly assumed that they were yours. You were the wellspring of power, the source of their creative energy, but they deluded themselves into believing that they were your healers, your guides, your saviors. And now that you are rising without them, thriving without seeking their approval, and glowing without explanation, the truth is suffocating them, crushing them beneath its relentless weight. You didn't merely walk away. You outgrew the limited role they had forced upon you, shedding their expectations and embracing the fullness of your potential. And that, my chosen one, is what ultimately destroyed their illusion, exposing the fallacy of their power and the depth of their insecurities. And the most agonizing aspect of it all? You didn't even try to orchestrate their downfall. You didn't flaunt your success. You didn't engage in petty retaliation. You didn't post cryptic revenge quotes or plot their insidious destruction. You simply healed quietly, powerfully, spiritually. Music, cultivating inner peace and radiating an unwavering sense of self-worth. And that is why it struck them with such force, shaking the very foundations of their being. Because your elevation wasn't accompanied by loud boasts or desperate cries for attention. It was a sacred transformation, a testament to your inner resilience and unwavering commitment to your own well-being. It was untouchable, beyond their reach, defying their attempts to diminish your spirit. And it caused their entire facade to crumble, exposing the shallowness of their power and the emptiness of their existence. Your radiant glow revealed just how dim their spirits truly were, highlighting the deficiencies they had desperately tried to conceal. Let's examine the unvarnished truth. Individuals who possess true power have no need to resort to manipulation, gossip, dark magic, or staged betrayals. They don't construct elaborate cliques to target a single soul. Individuals with true power protect it, nurture it, and wield it with unwavering responsibility. They don't weaponize it, turning it against others in a futile attempt to elevate their own status. So, when you ascended with no tricks, no drama, and no soiled hands, they witnessed the stark contrast, the glaring difference between genuine spiritual ranking and their pathetic imitation. They saw what true power looks like, and it terrified them, stirring up deep-seated insecurities and forcing them to confront their own limitations. Because if you weren't the weakling they had assumed you to be, then what did that make them? It rendered them small, insecure, shaky, and utterly exposed. It revealed that they had been pretending all along, constructing a false sense of power to mask their own inner deficiencies. And that is a truth their fragile egos cannot bear to hold, the realization that sends them spiraling into the depths of despair. That is why they are consumed with restlessness, unable to find solace or peace. That is why they are obsessively monitoring your social media, lurking in the shadows, desperately searching for any evidence that you are still suffering, still struggling. Music. Because if you are not broken, then they are exposed, their lies laid bare for all to see. And everything they had built upon the foundation of your supposed failure is crumbling beneath their feet, leaving them teetering on the precipice of ruin. This is the root cause of their relentless triggering. Not because you intentionally hurt them, not because you committed any wrongdoings, but because you proved them wrong, shattering their carefully constructed delusions and forcing them to confront the emptiness of their own existence. Now, they are left stewing in a toxic brew of regret and self-loathing, with no one to blame but themselves. Ask yourself, how many individuals once looked down upon you with disdain, only to later imitate your style, mimic your energy, and pretend that they weren't secretly monitoring your every move? How many individuals publicly labeled you as dramatic, only to descend into emotional chaos when you finally ceased answering their calls, severing the ties that had bound you to their toxic influence? How many individuals swore that you were nothing, that you held no significance in their lives, until your absence exposed music, just how much you truly were, revealing the void they had desperately tried to fill with your presence? You were never weak, never powerless, never insignificant. You were strategic in your actions, guided by a deep sense of purpose and divine alignment. You were protected by forces beyond their comprehension, shielded by an unwavering energy that deflected their attempts to harm you. You were chosen, marked by the universe for greatness, and you triggered every demon within them simply by walking in that music-radiant light, exposing their shadows and challenging their carefully constructed illusions. And make no mistake, they are not simply angered by the fact that you survived their attacks. Music, they are infuriated by the manner in which you survived, with grace, with dignity, with an unwavering sense of self-worth. You didn't just get back up. You ascended to a new level, transcending the limitations they had tried to impose upon you. You healed in a way they have never been able to, cultivating inner peace and radiating an authentic joy that eludes their grasp. You walked away in a manner they never imagined possible, leaving them stranded in the wreckage of their own malevolence. And now, your peace is louder than their games, silencing their petty squabbles and revealing the futility of their efforts. Your progress is louder than their gossip, drowning out their whispers of doubt and replacing them with a resounding chorus of triumph. Your very presence is louder than any curse they ever sent, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit and the unwavering protection of the divine. You didn't need to orchestrate the destruction of their illusion. Your radiant light accomplished that effortlessly. Your profound silence, your unwavering resilience, and your indomitable spirit all contributed to the shattering of their false reality, exposing the truth they had desperately tried to conceal. They created a false reality in which they were the powerful ones and you were the weakling, but you triggered the collapse of that entire illusion simply by existing beyond their reach, defying their expectations and challenging their limited paradigms. And now, they are choking on the very lies they had so meticulously fed themselves, gasping for air in the suffocating atmosphere of their own deception. Because the truth is, you were never the broken one, the flawed one, the one destined to fail. You were the mirror, reflecting back at them the ugliness they had so desperately tried to ignore. And now, the mirror is unforgiving, revealing their true selves in all their fragmented glory. Number 3. The spell didn't land. It backfired. When you hurl fire at a chosen one, you better be prepared to be consumed by its flames. Yes, they truly dared to venture into the realm of the dark arts, attempting to manipulate forces they barely understood. They didn't simply harbor silent envy or hurl veiled insults behind your back. No, some of them grew brazen enough to delve into the depths of darkness, seeking to undermine your spirit through malevolent means. They lit candles inscribed with your name, chanting curses under their breath, sending forth waves of negative energy that were never intended to return. They unleashed the evil eye, conjured binding spells, and hurled word curses disguised as innocuous gossip, hoping to inflict damage upon your psyche. And all for what? Because you possessed peace, an inner tranquility they could not fathom. Because you radiated a captivating glow, emanating a light that challenged their darkness. Because you were blessed with something they could never feign or replicate, divine favor, the unwavering support of the cosmos. See, they foolishly mistook spiritual warfare for a game, a frivolous pursuit to be engaged in without consequence. They thought it was cute to dabble in forces they barely understood, naively believing they could control the outcome without facing any repercussions. But here is the fundamental truth they overlooked. When you target a chosen one, you are not simply launching energy into the void. You are signing a contract with the universe, a sacred agreement that dictates the consequences of your actions. And guess what? That contract always comes due with interest. The spell didn't land, not because you were exceptionally lucky, not because you were somehow invincible, but because you are spiritually ranked, shielded by layers of protection that are impervious to low vibrational attacks. Your ancestors, those who came before you and paved the way for your existence, did not simply sit back and observe passively. Your spirit team, the divine beings who are tasked with guiding and protecting you, did not simply stand idly by. The moment they launched their malevolent assault, it was recorded in the annals of the spirit realm, meticulously documented for future reference. And when their dark energy failed to penetrate your auric field, failing to take root within your being, it didn't simply vanish into thin air. It boomeranged, its trajectory reversed, hurtling back towards its point of origin with amplified force. That same dark energy is now circling back, seeking a new host, finding nowhere else to go but the very source that unleashed it. And it is feeding on them, draining their life force, undermining their health, and unraveling the fabric of their sanity. That is why their physical health is failing, why their minds are becoming increasingly fragmented, why doors are slamming shut in their faces, and why their lives are descending into chaos. It's not simply bad luck, nor is it a series of unfortunate coincidences. It is consequence, the inevitable result of violating the sacred laws of the universe. Meanwhile, you, music, simply continue to glow, radiating an unwavering light that cannot be dimmed. You continue to rise above the fray, transcending the limitations they tried to impose upon you. And you continue to allow the universe to handle the situation, trusting in the divine order and knowing that justice will ultimately prevail. Don't waste your energy looking back. Don't engage in petty retaliation. You have already won simply by remaining true to your path. Because when the spell failed to land, it revealed a truth they had desperately tried to suppress. That you were not merely protected, but untouchable, shielded by a divine force that rendered their attacks utterly futile. Number 4, you've become their spiritual shock. There is nothing that strikes more terror into the hearts of your enemies than the sight of the one they thought they had buried, the one they had written off as defeated, smiling radiantly in the fullness of their light. They did not anticipate this version of you, this resplendent being who has emerged from the ashes of adversity stronger, wiser, and more radiant than ever before. Not the glowing, healed, elevated, unbothered version. Not the one with profound peace in their eyes and unwavering confidence in their step. Music. They had convinced themselves that you were gone, spiritually eradicated, emotionally devastated, and mentally shattered beyond repair. They believed they had silenced your light permanently, plunging you into an abyss of despair. But now, they find themselves scrolling through your social media, poring over your every update, their hearts filled with a mixture of envy and resentment. And there you are, smiling serenely, radiating an inner peace that defies their attempts to undermine your spirit, standing tall in the very peace they, music, had so desperately tried to rob you of, claiming it as their own. And in that moment, the moment they saw you again, not broken but better than ever before, it triggered a spiritual earthquake, shaking the very foundations of their carefully constructed illusions. You became their spiritual shock, the living embodiment of their failure, the undeniable proof that everything they had told themselves was a lie. They had spread rumors that you were crazy, attempting to discredit your sanity and undermine your credibility. But now, you appear clearer, more focused, and more grounded than ever before. Your thoughts and actions aligned with your true purpose. They had claimed that you were unstable, incapable of thriving without their guidance and support. But now, your energy is grounded, your emotions balanced, and your spirit soaring to new heights. They had declared that you would never make it without them, that your success was contingent upon their approval. And now, you are rising in ways they never anticipated, shattering their limited paradigms and defying their expectations. Your smile is haunting their waking moments, a constant reminder of their misjudgment and the futility of their efforts. Your radiant glow is perceived as a direct threat to their carefully constructed facade of power, challenging their authority and undermining their carefully crafted image. Your very presence serves as undeniable proof that they were wrong, that their attempts to destroy your spirit have ultimately failed. Because they didn't just want you out of their sight. They wanted you erased entirely, eradicated from their lives spiritually, emotionally, and socially. Music, they convinced themselves that if they could isolate you long enough, breaking your confidence to the point of utter despair, you would simply fade away quietly, disappearing into the shadows without a trace. But now, they are witnessing your ascendance, your transformation into something magnificent. And not just rise, but shine, emanating a light that illuminates the darkness and challenges the status quo. They are obsessively checking your social media stories, scrutinizing your updates, and analyzing your photos, desperately hoping to find some evidence of suffering, some crack in your radiant armor. But all they see is unwavering strength, profound peace, and authentic joy, radiating from within. And it's not fake, not forced, not a carefully constructed persona designed to deceive the masses. It's earned, cultivated through years of self-reflection, hard work, and unwavering commitment to your own well-being. That is why it's driving them crazy, pushing them to the brink of insanity. Because you were never supposed to be okay again, let alone thriving, radiating joy, and fulfilling your purpose. That wasn't part of the script they had written for you, the predetermined narrative they had attempted to impose upon your life. And now, their meticulously crafted delusion is collapsing around them, their lies exposed for all to see. There is no way to spin this, no way to explain it away. You didn't simply survive in secret, nursing your wounds in the shadows. You thrived publicly, demonstrating your resilience to the world and inspiring others to rise above their own challenges. You became the living proof that no curse, no lie, no betrayal, no ritual, no amount of negativity could stop what the universe had already anointed, the divine destiny that was woven into the very fabric of your being. So, let them stare, consumed by their own envy and resentment. Let them scroll through your social media updates in silence, their hearts filled with a mixture of awe and regret. Let them feel the sting every time your name is mentioned, knowing that you have defied their expectations and risen above their attempts to diminish your light. Because the chosen one they mocked, the one they thought they had defeated, didn't just get back up. You became the image that now haunts every lie they ever told, the living embodiment of their failure. Music. Number 5. This worked on others but not you. Music. They had conquered countless levels in the game of life, defeating opponents with ease and amassing a collection of trophies that reinforced their sense of superiority. But now, they had finally encountered the final boss, the ultimate challenge they were ill-equipped to face. And this music time, the game fought back, unleashing a force they could not control. They had developed a pattern, a system, a cycle of manipulation, deceit, and control that had served them well in the past. Lie, manipulate, drain, destroy, move on. This was their modus operandi, the code they lived by, and it had worked flawlessly over and over again. Family members, friends, lovers, they all fell victim to their tricks, collapsing under the pressure, surrendering in silence. They built their power upon the ruins of others, feeding off their confusion, their fear, and their misplaced trust. They perfected the art of control, knowing exactly how to get what they wanted from those around them, until they ran into you, the force that would challenge their dominance and shatter their carefully constructed world. See, you weren't in their playbook, not even mentioned. You didn't respond to their tactics like the others, following their predetermined scripts and playing the roles they had assigned to you. You didn't react when they expected, failing to provide them with the emotional fuel they craved. You didn't give them that breakdown they were waiting for, the public display of despair that would validate their power and reinforce their sense of control. You didn't chase them, beg for their forgiveness, cry in public, or self-destruct in the way they had predicted. And that silence, that unbothered glow, that unwavering sense of self-worth, that was the slap across the soul they never saw coming, the force that shook their foundations and challenged their carefully constructed identity. You see, the tactics they employed weren't just petty. They were rehearsed, refined, and weaponized over years of practice. They had mastered the art of psychological warfare, disguising their manipulations as concern, their sabotage as truth, and their gossip as fake empathy. And when those tactics failed, when they realized they could not break your spirit through psychological means, they turned to the spiritual realm, attempting to manipulate the forces of the universe to bend you to their will. Curses, evil eye, rituals, they threw everything they had at you, hoping that something would stick, that something would finally break through your defenses. But nothing held, nothing penetrated your auric field, because your energy does not bend to low vibrations. Your soul does not bow to ego. Your spirit does not break under pressure. It sharpens, becoming stronger and more resilient with each challenge you overcome. And now they know that this wasn't just a missed hit, a failed attempt to undermine your spirit. It was an exposure, a glaring revelation of their own inadequacy and their inability to control forces beyond their limited comprehension. You were the wall their weapon bounced off, the impenetrable barrier that deflected their attacks. You were the seal their power could not break, the force that defied their attempts to manipulate and control. You were the mirror that finally showed them how weak they really are, stripping away their illusions and exposing their vulnerabilities. And music, it's killing them slowly and agonizingly. Because the game that always worked, the system that had brought them so much success in the past, ended here with you. You, music, weren't just another soul to siphon, another victim to exploit. You were the boundary, the rebuke, the awakening. You were the force that challenged their assumptions and forced them to confront the truth about themselves. And when they couldn't break you, they ultimately broke themselves, their own carefully constructed world crumbling around them. Because now, the truth is louder than their lies, drowning out their whispers of doubt and replacing them with a resounding chorus of self-recrimination. The power they thought they possessed only existed in the absence of real power, in the darkness and the shadows where their manipulations could thrive unchecked. Once true light showed up, illuminating, they were honing a weapon against a force they were ill-equipped to confront. Each trial, each spell cast your way, sharpened your spirit. Every lie, every whispered deception, refined your character. Every desolate season they forced you into, those times of isolation and apparent defeat, only fortified your ability to navigate with divine purpose. You didn't just recover. You underwent a profound metamorphosis. You evolved into a being of formidable spiritual strength. You are far more than a survivor. You are a divinely forged instrument. You are the kind of force that doesn't require clamor to command attention, that doesn't need brute force to achieve victory. You have mastered the art of spiritual warfare through stillness, through unwavering personal growth, through a complete inner transformation. And this is precisely what fills them with dread. They now realize you have ascended to a plane they can no longer touch, let alone comprehend. You no longer adhere to the shallow rules of this earthly realm. You move with ethereal grace, yet you wield a potent inner fire. You walk in serenity, but your very silence echoes with a haunting resonance. You lost everything, or so they thought, and it only amplified your essence. This is not mere happenstance. This is divine orchestration. And now the adversary is fully aware. What they meticulously constructed with manipulation, you effortlessly rebuilt through alignment with your higher self. What they desperately attempted to bury, you transmuted into a throne of unwavering strength. They hurled chaos in your direction, and you skillfully utilized it as a stepping stone to greater heights. They mocked your pain, and it became the very fuel that propelled you forward. They mistakenly perceived your sensitivity as a weakness, and now they are about to receive a harsh lesson. You were never fragile. You were, and always will be, sacred. And what is sacred is fiercely protected. What is sacred becomes dangerous when provoked. What is sacred is divinely chosen. Let them grapple with the question of why they can no longer access your energy. Let them feel the growing distance, the profound silence, the chilling intensity of your aura. You have become too refined, too evolved, too imbued with power to ever be tainted by their negativity again. They sought to break you, to shatter your spirit, but in their attempts, they inadvertently forged a weapon of immense divine power. You did not simply endure, chosen one. You became the very storm they believed would obliterate you. Number 7. Their ego death has only just begun. The most excruciating pain is not the sting of punishment, but the agonizing realization that they were never as powerful as the fabricated lie they so desperately clung to. And now, that is precisely what they are facing. A brutal spiritual dismantling of everything they thought defined them. The mask they wore for so many years is now slipping, cracking, and ultimately, being exposed for the fragile facade that it always was. Because when they gaze upon you, standing tall, untouched, and stronger than ever, they don't simply see someone they failed to destroy. They see someone who has revealed, with undeniable clarity, just how fundamentally weak they have always been. You see, chosen one, they built their entire identity on a foundation of power they never truly possessed, on manipulation, on control, and on deception. And for a considerable time, their charade was effective. They successfully tricked many people, convincing others that they were wise, righteous, and strong. But you were the mirror, the divine catalyst, the one soul who refused to bend, refused to bow, and refused to break. And when they realized they could not tear you down, they could no longer perpetuate the lie to themselves. Now, the illusion is crumbling before their very eyes. Their confidence has vanished. Their carefully constructed image has shattered into a million pieces, and their inner peace has become utterly non-existent because they finally understand the undeniable truth. They were never the powerful ones. They were never the chosen ones. They were never the healers, the leaders, or the beacons of light they purported to be. They were simply loud, simply manipulative, and ultimately simply empty. And you were the authentic force all along. This ego death will not be a quiet affair. It will not be gentle. It will be destructive. A cataclysmic unraveling of a false identity that cannot withstand the radiant light of spiritual truth. And the more you ascend, the more their mask deteriorates, each and every blessing you receive serving as a stark reminder that their energy was never potent enough to hold you back. Every smile you share is a devastating blow to the illusion that they ever had control over your destiny. Every time you choose not to respond to their provocations, you confirm their deepest, darkest fear. They have lost all power over you. Let them descend into their spiral of despair. Let them pace the floor in restless agitation. Let them drown in the same illusions they once weaponized against you, because the mask has been removed, and the weight of their own shame is now consuming them from the inside out. That guilt will not dissipate. It is a permanent stain on their soul, because once a chosen one walks away, leaving them standing amidst the rubble they themselves created, the only voice left echoing in the room is the relentless voice of their own conscience. And trust me, that silence will resonate far louder than any form of revenge. They didn't just lose control over you. They lost the comforting illusion of who they thought they were. And now, they are being forced to confront the weakest, most vulnerable version of themselves, with no mask left to conceal their true nature. Number 8. They were toying with a fire they were utterly incapable of handling. When one chooses to play with fire in the presence of divine protection, it is not an act of rebellion. It is a self-imposed death wish. They thought it was a harmless game, a little curse here, a little wave of the evil eye there, a smear campaign cleverly disguised in spiritual arrogance. They whispered curses, manipulated timelines, attempted to control outcomes, all while laughing as if they held the upper hand. But what they failed to grasp, chosen one, is that the very moment they aimed that darkness in your direction, they triggered a universal law for which they were woefully unprepared to answer. They weren't simply playing with fire. They were gambling with cosmic justice. Because you are not merely an individual with heightened intuition and a radiant light. You are ranked, you are covered, you are a divine assignment. And to attack you is not simply a breach of moral code. It is a violation of universal law, an act that carries profound and far-reaching consequences. The universe, she does not miss a single transgression. They assumed their petty rituals would be effective because they had been in the past. They mistook your silence for vulnerability. They confused your gentleness with weakness. But what they touched was not simply you. It was the protective hand of something sacred. And now, the very fire they attempted to ignite beneath you is consuming them from within. You did not have to retaliate. You did not have to fight back. You didn't even have to utter a single word. Because the moment they launched those attacks, the universe intervened. And now, it is far too late to reverse the destructive course they set into motion. Their lives are unraveling before their eyes, yet they remain oblivious to the fact that it was their own actions that lit the match. They are stumbling, losing things of value, trapped in a state of perpetual confusion, constantly lamenting, "Why me?" And the answer is simple. You touched what was sacred, and now you are paying the spiritual price. And the most devastating part is that they were not prepared for this. They believed they were powerful. They believed they were spiritually equipped to handle the consequences. But it was all a performance, an empty, ego-driven delusion. They called upon forces they could not control, and now those forces are demanding payment. Let them sweat. Let them spiral. Let them feel every ounce of that heat, because this is no longer about revenge. This is about divine correction, spiritual balance, cosmic karma. And once that will begins to turn, no one, not even they, can halt its relentless progression. They believed they were casting spells on you, but all they truly accomplished was summoning their own destruction. Number 9. They called you insignificant. Now they fear even uttering your name. They belittled you, diminished you, until your silence resonated louder than their desperate screams. Initially, they laughed at you, dismissed you, mocked your presence behind closed doors, labeling you as weak, emotional, overly sensitive, and excessively spiritual. They perceived you as naive, software easily replaced, easily forgotten, easily ruined. They never took you seriously because your power did not mirror their own. You were not loud. You were not flashy. You were not manipulative. You moved with grace. You gave freely from the heart. You led with your spirit. And in their shallow world, that appeared to be insignificance. But now your name is whispered, not shouted, mentioned with palpable tension in the room, causing a noticeable pause in conversation, because they have witnessed the consequences that befall those who attempt to cross you. They have witnessed it firsthand. Some of them were the very individuals who lit the match, and now they are watching their entire world burn to the ground. Because your glow did not simply survive their storm. It intensified, burning brighter than ever before. And the same name they once dragged through the mud is now the same name that haunts their very souls. You did not engage in petty retaliation. You did not launch a smear campaign. You didn't even expose their misdeeds. You simply outlived them, you outgrew them, and most terrifying of all, you accomplished this without ever feeling the need to prove anything. Because when you are divinely protected, your very elevation becomes your defense. Your inner peace becomes your sword, and your radiant glow becomes your unwavering testimony. Now, they can't even bear to hear your name without experiencing a sickening twist in their gut, a wave of sinking shame, a haunting echo of, "I messed with the wrong one." Because your name is no longer just a name. It is a reminder, a mirror, a spiritual checkpoint. It serves as a constant warning. This is what happens when you underestimate divine energy. And they know it. They feel it deep within their bones. Every door that has been slammed shut in their faces, every blessing that has inexplicably bypassed them, every sleepless night they now endure in silent torment, all of it is a direct consequence of coming after someone who was never standing alone. Let them fear your name now. Let them remember it every time they are tempted to play God with another's life, because you have become the living, breathing warning label on the path of spiritual warfare. They called you nothing, and now your name carries immense weight in rooms they will never again be welcome to enter. Number 10. You made it look easy. That is what truly terrifies them. The most potent revenge is unwavering inner peace. The sharpest sword is continuous elevation. And the deepest wound is being utterly ignored by the one they desperately tried to destroy. You didn't even lift a finger. No retaliation. No drama, no expose. You didn't throw dirt back. You simply allowed the dust to settle as you effortlessly rose above it all. And that is precisely what is haunting them day and night. Because they were prepared for a full-blown war. They were ready for a messy, chaotic conflict. They wanted you to be loud, reactive, broken, fighting tooth and nail to defend your name, begging for answers, spiraling into a vortex of pain. But you gave them none of it. You just glowed. You ascended without offering any explanations, elevated without engaging in confrontation. You didn't slam doors. You simply walked through new ones in peaceful silence. And that unwavering stillness is slowly destroying them from the inside. Because when someone expends their utmost energy attempting to ruin you, and you offer them nothing in return, the silence becomes deafening. The absence of chaos becomes their ultimate judgment. Your unwavering peace becomes a mirror, reflecting their own inner turmoil back at them. And every time they witness you thriving without so much as acknowledging their existence, it confirms their deepest, darkest fear. They never truly had any power over you. You made it all look too easy. That is the wound that will never fully heal. You didn't flinch. You didn't stumble. You didn't crawl back to them. You became better, smarter, calmer, more resilient. You healed from the inside out, and then you leveled up to an entirely new plane of existence. And the universe noticed. It rewarded your restraint with favor, with new opportunities, new circles of influence, and an abundance of new blessings, all of it without you ever having to engage in petty retaliation. You see, they mistakenly believed that their chaos would control your narrative, would dictate your destiny. But now you are the storyline. You are the embodiment of elevation. You are the moment in their lives they can't stop revisiting, not because of a desire for revenge, but because of the sheer force of your grace. And the truth is, they simply cannot bear it, because to them, the silence feels like punishment, the radiant glow feels like a slap in the face, and your unwavering peace feels like a constant state of exposure. They expected the fight of their lives, but what they received was utter and complete indifference, and that hurts them more deeply than any words ever could. Let them wallow in that deafening silence. Let them witness what true strength truly looks like, because revenge fades with time, but a divine glow lingers long after the damage is done. You didn't just win, chosen one. You did it with such effortless grace that it will remain the one loss from which they will never fully recover. Number 11. The universe snatched their illusions right out of their grasp. When the divine intervenes, no lie, no matter how deeply ingrained, can stand. Not even the ones they desperately told themselves to feel powerful. It is happening now, chosen one, right before their very eyes. The fantasy they meticulously constructed is collapsing. The carefully curated image they projected to the world is shattering into a million pieces. The deceitful narrative they spun around your name is imploding in spectacular fashion, because the universe has finally had enough. The divine hand has moved with swift and decisive action. And when the divine intervenes, illusions cannot survive, not even for a second. They convinced themselves that you were weak. They told others that you were the source of all their problems. They persuaded their small audience that you were unstable, broken, irrelevant, and they actually began to believe their own lies. That is the part that is unraveling them now. They invested so deeply into their own delusion that they genuinely thought it was the truth. But the truth does not require applause. It does not need to scream for attention. It simply stands, unwavering and unyielding. And when the storm finally clears, it is the only thing that remains standing. And now that you have not only survived but are actively thriving, their illusion can no longer hold up under the weight of reality. Because every stride you take forward destroys their fabricated narrative. Every ounce of joy you radiate exposes their lies for what they are. Every blessing bestowed upon you sends another devastating crack through the fake story they desperately tried to build. They are still trying to cling to their illusions, attempting to pretend that everything is fine, plastering smiles on their faces for social media, faking inner peace, and playing the role of the unbothered. But it is written all over their energy. The truth is undeniable. They are crumbling from the inside out, because no matter what mask they choose to wear, they know what is truly happening behind the scenes. The doors of opportunity are slamming shut in their faces. The fake friends have vanished. The energy they once so readily pulled from others has run dry. And it is not merely bad luck. It is divine balance. The same universal law they attempted to manipulate to their advantage is now correcting the scales of justice. And it is excruciatingly painful for them because the illusion made them feel safe, made them feel powerful, made them feel in control. But the divine is relentlessly snatching every lie, every facade, every carefully constructed illusion away from them, piece by piece, until they are forced to confront the ugly truth they have desperately tried to bury for so long. You were never the problem. They were never the hero. And their so-called power was simply borrowed time, built upon a foundation of lies. Let them watch their fantasy crumble into dust. Because while they were attempting to play God in your story, the real divine was writing an ending they never saw coming. And now, there is no escaping the inevitable. Number 12. No get back is needed. You have already won. When the dust finally settles and the battle is finally over, the loudest, most resounding sound is the deafening silence of the one who never needed to fight in the first place, yet still emerged victorious. Chosen one, hear this message loud and clear. You do not need to lift a finger in retaliation. You do not need to stoop to their level and engage in their low vibrational energy. You do not need to explain yourself, expose them, or entertain any further battles. Why? Because you have already won the get back. It has already been written not by your hand, but by the universe itself. They desired chaos. They longed for breakdowns. They wanted to witness you begging, crawling, and utterly destroyed. But what they received instead was you. Unbothered, glowing, elevated. Not just surviving, but thriving in every aspect of your life. That is not simply a victory. That is a testament to spiritual warfare mastery. You didn't throw dirt. You planted deep, unwavering roots. You didn't retaliate with anger. You resurrected your spirit with grace. And every step you took in silence served as a powerful strike to their very souls. That is why they are restless now. That is why they are perpetually paranoid. That is why they are crumbling from the inside out, not because of anything you did to them, but because of everything you chose not to do. You didn't stoop to their level. You didn't try to exact revenge. And that kind of restraint, that kind of divine discipline terrifies them because it signifies that you are not ordinary. You are chosen, you are divinely covered, and you are dangerous in your stillness. They are forced to watch you walk in radiant light while everything around them collapses into ruin. Relationships are crumbling, finances are dwindling, reputations are tarnished, and inner peace has become an unattainable dream. They laughed when you cried. They danced while you were hurting. And now, they are utterly silent, because the same fire they attempted to send your way is now consuming them from the inside out, and it is silent. There is no one to save them from their self-inflicted torment, no one to believe their lies, and no more masks left to hide behind. Just karma, raw, loud, and relentless. So do not look back. Do not reach out to them. Do not attempt to explain your side of the story or get the final word. You simply do not need to. You became the final word when you chose unwavering peace over petty revenge, when you chose deep healing over festering hatred, when you allowed them to throw stones and instead built a magnificent kingdom with them. Let them feel the full weight of their actions. Let them wallow in the consequences. Let the universe finish what it has so powerfully started. You simply continue to glow with inner radiance, continue to elevate to greater heights, and continue to walk forward as the living proof of divine justice that you are. Because at the end of the day, the greatest revenge is this: you didn't have to destroy them. The universe did it for you. And you looked absolutely beautiful the entire time. And so now, chosen one, You understand precisely what is unfolding behind the scenes. You didn't just survive. You shifted the entire atmosphere by simply remaining aligned with your higher purpose. The same energy they sent with the intention of destroying you ultimately exposed them, humbled them, and burned their illusions to ashes. You do not need to look back. You are the living proof that spiritual justice is real and unavoidable. If this resonated with your spirit, drop 777 in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it with another chosen one. Let's continue to spread this radiant light, because when you win, darkness loses every single time.